Awesome, ready to roll. Feels so close with you guys right there. All right, guys, welcome to our 41st pitch event. So we're pretty excited to be here. It's I think this is our 5th or 6th event we've had at YSpace, and it's always exciting to be here. So we're pretty excited that over the years we've been able to build out a great partnership with YSpace as they've grown into a great incubator and accelerator with their program. So very excited to be here. So today we're going to go through, we have 4 pitches. We actually had 5 booked today, but one pitch, unfortunately, they had to step out. And we have a couple of key pieces that we're going to chat to. One of them is our keynote, so we're naming him our keynote because he's from YSpace, and you guys will like him. Okay, so always on the social side, if you guys can post anything, we always like a little love from you guys, so post any pictures, hashtag. You can join our Slack group if you guys are a startup group. Always lots of conversation going on. You can find resources, talk to people. All that good stuff is all built into our Slack group. And then we've, of course, throughout the other spots as well for any sort of updates and things that we have running. So at OPN, our whole thing is we want to help you spend less time trying to find money and more time growing your business. And we do that by putting together all of these types of shows. We've been doing this for close to 3 years. As you can imagine, when you've had 41 shows, they vary across the board. Our largest event, where we showcase over 30 startups and have 3 companies that pitch with a panel and keynote, and that's at City Hall. And we generate anywhere between 300 to 500 people to come to that event. It's pretty exciting, and well, I guess if you can say if you're at your fun spot, that's where it is, because a lot of great networking, a lot of people could come to that event. So unfortunately, our last event we had to cancel because we had a lot of snow. So Jordan went. Yeah, he went. Unfortunately, we didn't catch him on time, but
everyone went except for you.
Yeah, I was the only one that didn't show up. So hopefully you guys had a good show. So here's the schedule that we put together for the year. So we continue to grow our schedule. So we're getting lots of interest and a lot of excitement for some of the things we're doing. Notable is next week we have PitchIt Durham, where we'll be working with OPG, GM. They'll be part of our pitch event, and we'll have, I think it's going to be 9 companies that will be in the showcase, and we'll have 7 companies that will be pitching at the event. So it should be pretty good. It's in the new Innovation Center at Durham College. So that one's pretty cool. And then we have April 23rd, which will be back at Seneca College. So we'll be doing a new pitch series with them, and this will be inside of their new Innovation Center. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if you guys have been there, but it's a really exciting little space. And I say little because they're not finished yet, and it is pretty massive. And there's lots going on there. So they're getting a lot of people interested in things happening in that space. I think right now the only people that are in there are the accelerators, so they have a lot of room in that building. And then our next event, which is a new event, which you guys will have to check out. It's called PitchIt Skip the Line. And the whole idea for this is that we've brought together 5 angel groups in one room for the startups to actually pitch in front of them. So it's a 14-minute pitch. You have a 7-minute pitch with 7 minutes of discussion with the panel. And the panel is made up of Keiretsu, G10, York, Maple Leaf, and Spark. And we'll be running this event. It's a paid closed event, so there won't be very many people in the room, unless you're an angel or you're a startup. And we'll be running these every 2 months. And the idea is that you can validate your business, but at the same time, you're going to find out the interest level from the angel groups. And they'll be different each time because we'll have different advisor groups that will sit in, and they'll bring you back to their screening rooms to decide, how do I get them in there? So the whole idea, as I mentioned, skip the line, is how do I get through the screening process faster and then syndicate across all the groups. So instead of you having to go and pitch each one, you're pitching them all in one room. So it's a little bit more of a convenience factor, but great networking opportunity as well. And there'll be 12 companies, 10 to 12 companies that will pitch at each session. And as always, we have to thank our sponsors and all the people that help make this work great. So we'll start off with being here and partnering with YSpace and Innovation York. These guys have been huge in helping us jump into that, which obviously brings up York Angels, Startup York. System Bind, which is one of our hosting partners that provides all and everything that we do around our systems. Flow Water, who is a company that we invested in a long time ago and continue to support and work with, and they're growing, and at the same time they've sponsored every single one of our events. So it's pretty exciting that they've been with us since day one, and I guess we've been with them since day one, so it kind of works out. Miller Thompson, a great legal firm. They've been part of what we've been doing for the last year and a half as well, so that's pretty exciting. And our new accounting firm that has just come on board to help out with everything is Bateman McKay. And One Core Media, they are a media agency and strategy group that came on as well to help with the accelerator and business side. Global Payments, who are in the back, Sean and Sean. And these guys are great. They came on board last year, and they've been huge help with all the startups that we work with. They help with making sure you guys get your payments through and most beneficial way for you guys. And then, of course, my software company, Heartboot, for, well, everything they do, right? Hanging out with us. So thank you guys for all of that. Let's hook them up with a round because they rock. Thanks, guys. So a little bit about myself. Own and operate. I was talking about myself. We have a software company called Heartboot. We started this OPN, which is a VC investment with Pitch Series. Started that 3 years ago. And we have a fund where we have invested in to date 13 companies. We started that a year and a half ago. And we have a mini accelerator and our Pitch Series. I'm part of the screening committees at York and GTAN, and the rest of it you can find online. Our team that's helped put this all together, Brian on the camera, Katrina and Laura in the background, hanging out. They've been great. Thank you guys for your help. I'm giving you a hand. Woo-hoo. Always drop your business cards off so we can track you and follow you, but also so we can throw you guys in for a great prize at the end of the night. And if you have any questions, post them socially because we love that and we'll answer and get to them right away. Angelo is fast with his fingers on his phone, and this guy loves to feedback on that type of stuff. So the pitch format at YSpace is 7 to 9 minutes. It's 1 minute from 3 advisors. So we're changing this up a little bit, and the reason we're doing this is because Angelo wants to answer and talk to all the startups, and that's what we like. But at the same time, we know that sometimes there's a little bit of repeat, and nobody likes that, and no one wants to think hard about it. So what we decided is that we'll have 3 people, and it'll be the first 3 people that put their hand up that are going to get to speak, and not at the same time. And one of the things that we're adding in as an extra element, because everybody has paper, except for these 2 guys. Oh, nice, Mike. We're going to have to get you some paper. One of the things that we're adding in, and we will more formalize this next time, but what will be added in is that the angels will actually be providing the startup with their feedback, which you're going to hear live and it's filmed, but they're also going to provide you guys with a contact. Because the idea behind it is that we want to help you guys grow, and we can't help you grow if we're not telling you people that you should meet. And Angelo, I will add, is really good at this. He loves to share people that he knows, and I'm not putting you on the spot, but he does do this, and I know the other guys will as well. And the idea is that you'll walk away with something pretty valuable, which is going to be one person that might be able to help you. Even if it's just Angelo and his phone number, it's still valuable, and you'll still get to talk to him. So that's one of the extra things that we're adding in, and maybe next we'll have it more formal on a piece of paper and it'll look nice, but right now that's the way we're going to run it. So hopefully that works for you guys, as well as the guys pitching. And then we'll do 5 minutes of feedback from the crowd, and that's where you guys get to come in and ask the hard-hitting questions that are going to help support the startup. So we have, from my left, Mr. Sherwin. Sherwin is a York Angel. He is also, I guess you run a couple of things, but he is a DB architect consultant, knows a lot about tech. So he's someone that's good to pick brains with, especially if you guys have a lot of hardcore software development side. Good guy to know. Angelo Del Duca, Angel Investor of the Year 2 years ago, and he is an avid investor, also avid supporter and driver behind what we do at OPN. Jane is also, you're at York Angels too? Karatsu. Oh, I was going to say that, but I thought it was also York. She is an advisor to Karatsu on their forum on who they're going to invest in. And she's also part of MedTech, which is an Australia-based company that is making their way into Canada through the health tech. She's also runs IBM, all of IBM, globally. They don't know everything about this yet, but Jane does. And then Mr. Wall, Mike, he is part of Park Hill Ventures, and they do investments as well, and he is part of York Angels. And Mike, your background is with, oh my God, I gotta remember the name, ComScore. Damn it, I knew that too. I was with ComScore, because I remember actually your old vice president is an old buddy of mine. Yep, so great 4 people, so let's welcome them because these guys are awesome for coming out tonight. Thank you, guys. All right, and the 4 companies that we're going to have pitching tonight, Gray Block, Javelin, EavyChat, and Able Innovations, and that's the 4 guys up here. Awesome, let's hear it for them. Come on, excitement. All right, so first up, Able Innovations.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mikhail Tai, and I handle business development at Able Innovations. At Able Innovations, we develop innovative medical technology to improve the quality of life for the most vulnerable people in society. We all want our loved ones to enjoy a safe, dignified, and comfortable golden years. But unfortunately, there's a problem for millions of individuals today and their caregivers. That problem is patient transfer. Patient transfer, also known as client handling, refers to the process of moving immobile individuals in and out of bed, placing them in a wheelchair, taking them to the washroom, all of these crucial daily activities they must conduct to enjoy a high standard of life. The problem with patient transfer stems from the technology in use today. The current technology is outdated, unsafe, undignified, inefficient, and a pain for everyone involved. The technology primarily consists of slings and lifts that require multiple healthcare workers to exert serious physical effort to perform a single transfer. These technologies create several negative effects. Through the simple fact of having 2 healthcare workers perform an 8-minute transfer, a lot of labor is consumed by transfer alone. In Canada, there are over 1 million transfers every single day, and this allows for the labor cost of transfer to be over $12 billion annually in North America alone. Further, the simple fact that healthcare workers must exert a lot of strain puts them at a high risk of injury. These injuries take them out of work, impair their quality of life, and result in $1.2 billion in insurance claims every year. Now, this is a serious problem that will only worsen as the population ages, and to solve that, we need a special solution. Able Innovations has developed that solution with our zero-effort transfer technology. Trying to get the video to work here. Is that working? So what you see here is, this is a proof of concept that we developed back in October. And in this video, which I hope maybe we can play at the end, but you will see the monkey, who is filled with nuts and bolts, is actually able to be transferred with that device with absolutely no effort on behalf of our engineer, Simon, who is conducting the transfer. What we plan to do is develop a much more advanced version of this platform that will be thinner and leverage recent advancements in artificial intelligence and robotics to create a safe, streamlined, absolutely effortless transfer operation. We plan to incorporate this technology in multiple devices for use in healthcare facilities. The first was proposed by our partners at St. Michael's, and that is a lateral transfer mechanism for use in bariatric care and when dealing with unconscious patients for perioperative purposes or medical imaging. The second is a floor-to-bed lift, which be of use in long-term care homes where there's approximately 1.5 falls per bed in every year in these homes. And finally, we would incorporate this technology to realize our Able Chair on the right, which is a one-of-a-kind transfer and mobility device that would allow immobile individuals to go from lying in their bed to transporting themselves all effortlessly without the involvement of a caregiver whatsoever. The automation, the safety, and the efficiency of these platforms allow healthcare facilities to save up to 25% on their overhead costs. This primarily comes from the elimination of physical strain, which results in injuries, and also the reduction in labor resources from having two healthcare workers perform an 8-minute transfer to just one for a 4-minute transfer. Further, for the Able Chair, we're going to adapt this for use in private residences, allowing older adults to stay at home longer and retain their sense of independence and dignity. Now, there's a massive market for these products. The global market for mobility and transfer devices was over $4 billion in 2018 and is set to reach over $5 billion in 2023. With the boom in the aging population, our market is literally guaranteed to grow. And with our superior technology, we'll be able to capture some of the current market and be in an excellent position to take full advantage of this oncoming growth. Further, to accelerate our path to profitability, we're looking at applications in non-regulated industries, such as veterinary care, logistics, construction, retail, and more. We have a few ways of generating money. Our preferred way would be to license this technology to larger, well-established players, as this would allow us to focus primarily on innovation, which is who we are as a company. And if that fails or does not present itself immediately, we will first pursue direct sales, where we would target large healthcare facilities that have large operating budgets and can benefit the most from the savings our chairs provide. Later on, we will provide leasing options for smaller facilities as well as private individuals to ensure that they can afford the product. Now, there are a lot of companies in this space offering a wide range of products, but the simple fact that our device is safer and automated and has a dual functionality of transfer and mobility separates it from anything else on the market currently. We have an excellent team to realize these technologies. Jayesh Singh, our CEO and founder, has years of experience in product design and commercialization, having worked at every level in the process throughout his career. He experienced the problem of patient transfer in his youth, and his desire to do social good through technology led him to founding this company. Philip Chang is our CTO, who we brought on recently, and he's an IP expert who has 20 patents to his name. Myself, I'm really enthusiastic about the ability of technology to improve our lives, and so I'm here today to share my enthusiasm for this project. And Simon Chang is our product design engineer, committed, talented, neatly rounds out our core four. Bolstering our core team is our advisory board, which includes Simi Kaur, who has 15 years experience operating long-term care homes. Freeman Lin owns a plant in Shenzhen, a medical device manufacturing plant. And Nicholas Morgan is a fundraising expert and has helped bring his company Morgan Solar to an over $100 million valuation. We've made some great partnerships to help realize this dream. We received funding from NRC IRAP, which is huge because, to our knowledge, we're one of the youngest companies to ever do that, and it lends us a huge degree of legitimacy and credence going forward. We've received funding through the Northumberland CFDC, through their subsidiary N1M, and most importantly, our industry supporters. OPSWA, the Ontario Personal Support Workers Association, represents 30,000 PSWs in the province and has provided huge support for us. It's been great. And Responsive Group represents 3,000 long-term care beds in the city, and St. Michael's Hospital has brought forward their lateral transfer application for use in their facilities. We've made a lot of progress since incorporation. We're about 5 weeks away from realizing our half-scale prototype, which we plan to demonstrate when we exhibit at Collision. And We're planning on expanding our network of partners. We're always trying to bring in people who realize the problem and are committed to finding the solution. And we plan to commercialize in 2020, and we'll reach our break-even point in the third quarter of that year. So right now, we're looking to expand our network of supporters. We want someone who understands the severity of the problem, realizes that we must construct a solution, and can champion our cause. Beyond that, we're also going to open a round near the end of the year. So why Able Innovations? We have excellent technology, we have a fantastic market opportunity, and we have the right team to take full advantage of this opportunity. Beyond business, we all have a social obligation to ensure that all members of society enjoy a happy, safe, and high quality of life. Thank you very much to the Open People Network for today, and YSpace for all you've done for us. Thanks a lot, guys.
Perfect, thank you. All right, who's up with 3-1 in? You're in? Yeah? Jane?
Sure.
Done.
Go ahead.
Thanks very much. That was great. Yeah, just quick feedback. Of course, this is very, very early stage. I think everyone understands that. You mentioned commercialization in 2020. The one thing that I would recommend, because of the early stage factor, is to really flush out the go-to-market strategy a little more, what you plan to do. I personally was interested in the idea of it being in homes, for example, residential homes. That could be a huge market. How would that actually work? What would the price point be? How would people purchase that? What sort of safety requirements are needed to pass in order to get into the homes? So just some things to really show that we can ultimately commercialize this, knowing that for now it's early stage and there's not a lot of traction. We will get there, and here's how we're going to do it. Thanks very much.
Could we actually? I'm really curious about the product still. Yeah, the video, because I'm wondering how it works. My father's in long-term care because of stroke, so I've actually used one of those devices to lift him.
We can do it after. We'll just keep flowing.
Yeah. Well, the market, you're right, is growing. It's definitely an important problem to solve. I think, as you have seen, there's a lot of different devices. That's why I'm curious, like, what is so special about your device? Maybe my only recommendation, advice for you is to focus, key in on the use case that is used the most, which is getting my dad out of the bed and in the washroom, and that's back and forth. I think the nurses do that a lot. Like getting him on the wheelchair and getting him in the washroom, and those are basic transfers. I'm not sure if you want to deal with all the other use cases. Maybe you want to build a simpler device because of that. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
There's no response. So I just wonder, like, how much is this device? You did a really good presentation. I completely understand your product and your positioning. One question that I would have would be, like, for example, if we transfer to the bed, what do we do when they're on the bed, which doesn't have the device? Like, you have to think about all those stuff, right? Maybe it's in your home would be a very good place to sell this. Another thing would be, I do have contacts from Asia, and they do allow some of the stuff to be sold before FDA. So you can consider that as part of the selling go-to-market strategy as well. But you can get in touch with me later on.
Yep.
There's only three, right?
There's only three. So we'll hold off on this one, Angelo, but you can ask a question while we get into the chat. Is that right?
Do you want me to go through real quick?
Okay, quick.
A good presentation. A lot of strong points. I always like to do the strong points first and then identify where you can even strengthen it more. So you have a really good team, both on the within the company and also externally with the advisors. I think you have the right mix there, which is great. The Morgan link really brings to bear that knowledge of scaling a company. I remember when I was at IRAP dealing with them in the early days. The one thing that could strengthen is what sort of relationships you have with those advisors, as opposed to just an ad hoc relationship. On that vein, strong point, you mentioned the partnership with St. Mike's. Do you have them listed there? Is it formal? To what degree is that partnership? Again, strengthen that, especially when you're going out trying to look for funding and investment. On the investment side, you identified your ask. You need to really identify what you're going to do with those funds. And more importantly, you're asking investors to dig deep, probably angel investors, into their pocket. And in addition to the mousetraps that are in their pocket, to pull that money out, they want to know what's their return on that investment. So identify your valuation and whether it's a equity round, convertible note, whatever the instrument that you're using. And there's a bunch of stuff that we can talk about later.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Angelo. I'll give you that to answer questions. All right, who's got some questions? It's more for the video, so in order for us to hear it.
I was interested to know if you've done any price approximations for the device and what kind of price points you're looking at, like for the 3 different versions you had, plus or minus,
Right.
some degree of risk.
So the most accurate number I would be able to give you is for the Able Chair. The other 2 applications, we haven't really looked into that just as much. They're recent. And this kind of like ties into the point that you brought up of go-to-market strategy. Right. So those other 2 devices are actually less complex than the Able Chair. So it makes sense to roll them out first, see some traction and revenue from that, and then use that to develop the Able Chair. Right. And so I'm thinking it's going to be about 25,000 or possibly underneath. Yeah.
Okay. One sec.
Thanks. Is there any capability or options to roll this into insurance? Or so 25K is a lot of money for an individual to invest out.
Right.
How do you work with your insurance provider to cover that? Is this?
We're definitely looking at rebate programs to ensure that this can be affordable for private customers. And also the leasing model is what we want to use for smaller facilities and individual customers. So that you're not going to pay outright. And also we're really going to use the costs saved on reducing it from 2 caregivers to 1 to justify any price that we land on. Yeah.
That's at a facility, right?
Yes.
Have you got any patents yet, or any plans to have a patent?
Yes, we have a patent IP protection strategy in the works. Yeah.
Just a little bit of insight and affirmation. I actually dated a PSW for years, and she gave me a lot of insight into the job. One of the hardest part in hiring is to find people who are large enough to handle the weight. And there's so she was describing how very few people were heavy enough, in fact, too, because many of these seniors are not, they might seem frail, but they're actually very strong and what have you. Mm-hmm. But my question to you is that when you're designing this product, there's a lot of variability in terms of taking somebody out of it and going into a shower, and also the various, they're not just flat, they're actually got bumps and everything. Just curious to see how you've thought about that for the design mechanisms for that.
In the demonstration I wanted to show you, that particularly works by actually depressing the bed and allowing the platform to roll underneath with minimal disruption of the skin. And what we're actually, the final product would be millimeters thick. It's very impressive, the advancements in compact drivetrain and torque motors that would allow that. But
my question is,
the shape of,
you hit a bump,
right.
person, the machine has to kind of go over it. Currently, right now, what happens is that you walk somebody over, they just step over it. You understand that? So you dive in the shower, usually it's something like something and put the foot over.
Oh, okay.
I'm just wondering how you handle that, because she was mentioning that's one of the hardest parts for people that.
To take them into the bathroom, to the shower. Honestly, we've explored taking them on the toilet, but we haven't exactly figured out how best to bring them into a shower. Yeah, but that's something that we actually have to address, definitely.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna have to, guys will chat after, but thank you very much. That was good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Javelin, you're up.
Hello, hello.
All right. Hey everyone, my name's Justin Ford and I'm the CEO of Javelin Sports. So when I was a kid, I was kind of a really big loser. I didn't have many friends and I didn't know how to go about making any. Luckily for me, my parents enrolled me in sports. So they were a big part of my childhood. I attribute a lot of my confidence and my growth to what I learned on the sports pitch. However, I found as I got older, and as most people find, you start playing less and less. Now, I know this slide looks a little messy, and that's because the sports industry really is. So over or around roughly 75% of people claim they want to play more sports. The ways they can go about doing this is through pickup groups or pickup games and leagues. Now, there are over 500 sport leagues in Toronto alone, and these are very hard to sift to. So a lot of people do things like join these sorts of meetup or Facebook groups. So this Toronto soccer meetup group has over 15,000 people. This Facebook group in London, Ontario has 1,400 members. And then on that right side there, that's kind of what the market is. So those are actually facilities that host daily or weekly drop-in events for sports. And as a consumer, it can be very difficult, as you can see by that 75% number, to actually find these groups. So what you can do is download Javelin. We made an app that helps you find sport leagues and pickup games in your area. So here's how it works. This is a quick look at our pickup side. We list all of them. It's based on geolocation, so you can join them quickly and easily. This is our side on the leagues, so you can sift through based on city, based on sport you want to play, age, gender, things like that. It keeps all of your activities right on one convenient homepage, and we have set up things like notifications and messaging so that you don't even need to take your phone out of your pocket to realize, oh, right, I have something coming up. Luckily for us, there's a lot of money in the sports industry, so we have over $1 billion in our serviceable market in the US and Canada alone. Globally, that's over $10 billion. So you may think, all right, so you have a pickup app, your biggest problem is getting players, right? And yeah, you'd be correct. So how we actually did this is we built a viral growth method that we're currently executing on. So we have a fully functional back-end communication platform for sport leagues. We can take this to a sport league and say, hey, we'll charge you $10 per team per season, and in return, we'll give you a place to post all of your schedules. You can message your players, do scores and standings, track RSVPs, and more. So this will allow us to get not only money from the sport league, but all of their players on board as well. What our long-term goal is if we can get our player base to a high enough level where people are using the app, sharing it with their friends, really playing, we'll start even attracting sport leagues who want to be listed on our platform so they can get at that player base. Because almost every sport league actually has to spend marketing dollars, despite the fact that everyone's trying to play sports. So as I mentioned, we kind of do partnerships to grow. So we have 3 types of partners we work on. This is offices. So we set up groups for offices. We have Canadian Tire. We're currently setting up one for YSpace, represent. And York University is in the pipeline as well. These are some leagues we've worked with in the past. So we're primarily focused in Toronto, but we've done things from San Francisco, New York, even to Hong Kong. So that's Hong Kong Basketball League. That was the city of Aurelia, who we helped with tournaments. Okay, and then this is sort of our business development strategy. So this has proved pretty beneficial for us in terms of both money and players. Here's a case study on Zuluru. So this will actually be rolling out early May for our first major league through them May 27th, I believe. So Zuluru has 30,000 players in Ontario using their platform. So leagues use Zuluru to organize themselves. They sent out an estimation on which of those players want an app, and about 8,000 players worth of leagues responded. So with this connection, one of our biggest problems right now, honestly, is onboarding a league. They're primarily ran by volunteers who don't really want to take the time to send us the information. This will allow us to instantly turn on all 30,000 of the players in Zuluru's pipeline. So that's something very exciting for us. Here's our traction thus far. This raising is including grants. We've partnered with over 20 leagues. We have 3,500 downloads. So business model. So right now we're just doing the $10 per team per month. That's how we've gotten most of our money. In the long term, really what our game plan is that commission revenue. So typically how the sports industry works in adults is one person, the team captain, will purchase a league or purchase a team from a league for, let's say, $2,500, and then they'll get all of their friends on their team. And they'll tell all their friends, all right, you owe me $250 for the 10 of us to play. So if we can actually take that sort of transmission between the players, then we're taking a nice 2.5% commission off of that, which is industry standard. It's a great way to make money, and it doesn't actually cost our leagues anything. And then we might show ads in the pickup side, depending on how that works out. Okay, so competition. So on the left, you kind of have the group competition. Most of the successful ones are Meetup and Facebook. And then on the right, you have pickup sports apps. So there is competition in the pickup sports space. Team Snap's the biggest player. When I started this, I interviewed about 40 sport leagues in Toronto, and only I guesstimated from that less than 5% of people had even heard of Team Snap. Now that number is probably closer to 100%, so they're growing rapidly. And you can see there's a lot of demand in this industry for a sports app. Okay, so here's kind of our development, or I guess traction schedule. So with this Zuluru rollout, and a few other marketing tactics, we're expecting to get roughly 10,000 players on the app in the Toronto area by the end of May. So this is an exciting moment for us, and what we're kind of trying to prove is that if we can have all of those players on the app at one time, they'll tell their friends about it, who will then bring more sport leagues. So our traction method is to prove that we can be a virally growing social media platform. It's a little ambitious, but that's why I'm here. Okay, so here's our team. We're very unimpressive, honestly. So we're both fresh out of university. We graduated in 2017 and just didn't want to go into the real world yet. Despite that, we've managed to build up a bit of a community amongst ourselves. So we have 4 developers working tirelessly to make sure this rollout in May is as effective and as smooth as possible. And we have Jasleen. She's a great marketing student who's been doing great work for us. Here's our advisors. So Chris Carter actually built and exited his own company for about $20 million. He's a really good strategy advisor. Laura Garrett, she's actually one of our co-founders as well. She's now serves an advisory position. So she's a genius. She built the app, like our first version that was on the App Store, in 3 months, both Android and iOS. And then Darren Raby, he is the co-founder of Focus America. And his brother owns Spin Master. Yeah. Okay, so for Ask, so I know right now we're trying to prove that we can grow a social media platform. So we're not really looking for funding until after we've proven that, which would be near the end of May. With that said, this sort of $200K, $1 million would be what I'm after right now. The reason most of it's spent on development is because most of our growth has come through partnerships with these major sport leagues or sport facilitators. So the big things that we're looking for right now is we want to begin our discussions with investors. We're looking for some tech and marketing advisors. So tech, particularly in scaling and database stuff. I know you have an expert over there. And then so partnerships. So the sports industry is very friend and family. So if any of you are in an office that want to play sports, or if you're in a league and you're looking for an app, feel free to come out, say hi. I'd love to get in contact. We did generally get in this to help people out. So I'd love to talk to you and see what I can do. That's everything. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, watch foot. All right, so which 3 of you want to speak? You? Angelo, Mike, you got the boot this time. All right, you're up.
All right, that was great. Very clear business model here. Could be a good two-sided marketplace and the network effects that come with that. So you've really thought that through. You're an Ivy grad, so I'm sure you know what you're doing in terms of business. I'm a Queen's grad, by the way, but Ivy's okay too. It's the one thing, and I like how you said that you're not raising money right now until you prove that you can build this out, because that's the reality. Throughout your presentation, I was thinking it might be a little too early to be asking for money, and then you addressed that at the end, which was great, because these businesses are all about proving that you have the users, the eyeballs. So if I were to recommend anything, it would be just focusing on those 3,500 app downloads that you had. Exactly how did you get those, and what time frame, how did it all work? And then also similar to that, I would look at that competition, because you mentioned there was a lot of competition in the space. There's always competition for mobile apps. It's kind of the first one that gets the users is the winner. So I'd look at that competition, tell us a little bit about what their experience was, how fast they've grown, if at all, and is it a viable marketplace that could be taken.
The pitch was really good. I really it was what nicely paced and very detailed in all of the areas that we really needed to hear. You have a great team, and the product was very clear as well. The only thing I might be able to add for you is that maybe and you probably even thought about this already, is integrating or just connecting with Meetup and Eventbrite, or because eventually you're going to have to take their customers, and you got to maybe find good ways to integrate with those platforms.
Hey, Justin, good job. I like your presentation, your style. It's good. You wear a bun much better than JB. I'm just joking, JB. I like your starting out with the problem statement and bringing it home, making it personal. I would suggest that maybe you just expand a bit more on how it affected you from a problem perspective, right? And then move and jumping into the solution. Right? Having said that, I think you touched on all of the elements that typically I like to see, but a couple of areas that I really think are important from an investment pitch, even though you rightly said that you're quite not there yet. I still like to see how are you positioned from a moat perspective in preventing others from encroaching. So you could do a great job and be that missionary that actually teaches your competition on how valuable this opportunity is, and then replicating it as quickly as possible. So build that moat and prevent that from occurring. And I also think that although you identified the total serviceable market, you really need to quantify more how you see your revenue growth and how that scale occurs. And typically, once you flip those numbers around in terms of the percentages of the ask, you have 60% on the dev, and then 30 and 10 for growth and ops. Once it's 40 or 30% on the dev side and the majority in the growth side of things, that's when it's time to come out to us, because we'll hit you hard on that.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Give you that for questions. All right, who's got questions?
More than a question, it's actually a comment. You had mentioned the fact that the teams have got the capability of putting their feedback onto your platform as well. So one of the areas that you may want to consider is that if they are putting in, for example, their scores and which players, etc., are winning, that is big data. So the other area of economics that you may want to think about is the fact that professional teams start looking at these amateur players. They start digging into where these players are coming in from, because they're looking for the next great players. That's another economic source that you may want to look at.
Thank you. Good point.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I think you didn't mention it, and that was one of the reasons why one of the investors didn't want to get in. But there's a differential value on the plan, like for as you know, as they mentioned, some other like the bigger ones, the bigger guys, or the bigger platforms or the competition platforms could take over. Like this. Oh, okay.
Yes. So the kind of like general pitch I'd give to an investor would be, my differentiator is that I can actually help a league grow by showing their league on our platform and showing them to our thousands of players. Realistically, at our current level, in order to get leagues, what it comes down to is they're primarily ran by volunteers who don't want to take the time or risk to set something up. So if I just walk them through the onboarding process, most leagues actually know the industry's going into the app space. So they want an app, but they also want someone who will be like, don't worry, this will be super smooth. It'll be easy. I'll make sure it works out. And that's really how I get most of my clients right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Is the app fully adaptable to, I'll say, every sports? Like, could the CPGA use something like this?
So yes, we kind of have like a generic list of sports. It's about 20 that we use icons on. But I mean, we have a kite league in San Francisco that does sport kite flying. So yeah, it's pretty much every sport. We're kind of not really in the single sports yet, like badminton or I guess tennis, but we want to get there.
I have to ask the question: Would you push your product to focus on more of a younger generation? So instead of the adult leagues, I like the idea of finding the next professional. So would you look at focusing on? And there's a mishmash of everything. Team Snap. I ran a under 17 boys soccer club, but you could have the next up-and-coming star. So would you look at doing that using the big data so that you could actually statistically find something else? I don't know the competition space at the younger levels, but they're all looking for applications because they can't afford them. Their teams don't want to pay for them, but they need something to manage it.
So our app was initially primarily designed with the adults in mind. We have ran such things. So with Aurelia, we ran some baseball tournaments through them, which are mostly kids. We've also ran some hockey tournaments that were kids. We've just found kids are more like one and done, if that makes sense. So the parents use them and that's their league app and then they put it away. With adults, although it will be a bit more difficult for them to all adopt the app, it does tend to have more sticky users if they use it and they like it. Regarding big data real quick, one of the biggest problems in the industry that people aren't really or no one's really capable of fixing is actually facilities. So there's a shortage of facilities in most spaces. So what we're doing is in the long term, we want to use sort of the searching features to be able to actually find places where we can build sports facilities.
Okay.
Just a quick one. So in terms of your revenue model, you might have to, I don't know about the 2.5%, how many of them are willing to pay it. One thing that you might want to think about is maybe your app can act such as like a freelancer type, which is a matching, because like, for example, if the baseball, they're missing, the first runner or whatever, then, they can consider it as a matching type of app, just like how freelancer work, rather than charging them 2.5 and you don't know what they get. So that's just an idea.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Actually, there has been an app that tried that. They just couldn't get past, I guess, the user levels to make it successful. So I definitely see us getting even more creative with how we help people play sports once we kind of have the user base.
Okay, perfect. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just going to do one quick jump in here. There's the clip. Awesome. Do you want to just load up? Yeah, it's all done.
Hey guys, On behalf of York University, welcome to YSpace. My name is Nilay Goyal. I'm not pitching a startup, but I'm going to talk about the programs that we run here at YSpace and also at York University. So as I said, like I run the Launch U program, and my colleague David right there runs the YSpace here. So welcome to YSpace. It's a fascinating space. It's a brand new space. I mean, not brand new anymore, but it's almost a year old now, or just about a year old now. And we support entrepreneurs at YSpace for, different things in terms of the space, mentorship, guidance. We have a lot of EIRs that we work with. And if any one of you are building on a hardware startup, we have a makerspace as well. Typically, we are looking for companies which are like pre-seed, early revenue, or like about to launch kind of stage. So if you want a tour of the space, or if you have any questions about it, come to me, come to David, or Narain, she might be around as well, for any questions about this. I'm going to talk specifically about the Launch U program, for which the deadline is coming up pretty soon. So, Launch U is part of, and YSpace, both are part of Innovation York, which is the innovation office of York University. At Launch U, we serve entrepreneurs at different stages. So we serve student entrepreneurs who are like, hey, I have an idea, how do I get started? All the way to companies who are like, just raise a seed round and are about to scale. We have 3 main programs. I'm not going to go into details of these, but the coaching program is offered all through the years, where we pair you with one of our coaches to work on expanding your business and taking it to the next level. Depending on what your needs are, we match you with different coaches, based on what your, what stage of a company is. The experience program is a program specifically for York University students. So I'm not so sure if this is the audience for that, but it's for very early stage companies, only student-led companies. And finally, the accelerator. That's our flagship program that we've been running since past 4 years. The program actually is 4-month long. It starts in May, goes up to end of August, and then we have the demo day in September. It has different elements. It's focused on providing meaningful support. So we realize that entrepreneurs are often over-advised but under-supported. We try to change that. A lot of our programming, like boot camps, you actually come up building out your sales plan at the end of the sales boot camp, or you actually work through your fundraising plan and how does what would be the dilutions like you would actually set up your, we'll have discussions around your ESOPs and setting up a board, or creating a data room for your due diligence. All that kind of happens during the program. It's very hands-on, and it's very kind of detail-oriented towards getting your company into a proper management hygiene. We also have $55,000 in awards that we give out at the end of the program. And just to talk about some of the success about the companies, so last year, the 20 companies that graduated raised over $7 million since last year till now, and have generated over $2 million in sales. So typically, we're looking for companies who are about to launch, who have just launched, and are willing to scale. There's no industry-specific requirements. We work with cannabis to genealogy to healthcare, and a lot of software and SaaS companies, as you can see. And a lot of the companies are based actually out of YSpace as well. So that's just us. I'll be around. So if you have any questions, come talk to me. If this program is not suited for you, you can we have other things that we do as well. The deadline to apply for this is this Sunday. So Sunday, 12 o'clock, midnight is the deadline. So if you are working on a startup, want to kind of take it to the next level, need some support or help on kind of getting things in order, do go to launchu.ca. Under Accelerator, you'll find the program. That's it from me, and thank you, Jeffrey, for having the opportunity.
Perfect. Thanks, Nilay.
Yeah.
You're a good man. Let me steal that too. Thanks, buddy. Okay, now let's Gray Block. You're up.
Hi. Yep. Just ready? Oh, okay, great. Yep. Hi, my name is Chris Cherovino, and I'm the founder and CEO of Gray Block Power, which is kind of it's a affordable funding platform for clean energy. Okay, so right now in the clean energy space, what's happening is we're transitioning to a world where there's lots of centralized investment with big energy assets, but now we're going to these small energy assets distributed. And so what you find is that there's this new thing called energy as a service. So as a big load, like a manufacturer, a developer will come to you and say, hey, you're paying Y for your energy. Why don't you pay me lower X? And I'll put a solar and battery on your site. And so basically what happens is it's an upfront cost, and primarily the competitiveness of that is related to the financing. So if you lower the financing cost of this deployment, then you become more competitive and can deploy more clean energy. And the issue that developers are finding is that these assets are very small. So they're only like $500,000 or a million bucks, maybe up to 10 million. And it's hard to locate that capital quickly and at a low cost. So what we want to do is create a centralized point where developers can post their own projects and offer it in a totally regulated, transparent, crowd-funded way. And then we want to apply a distributed ledger system on top so that effectively it streamlines transaction costs, legal transfer of ownership, and overhead. And so the developers that we're talking to, the cost of capital for them, which is related to their financing cost, this would be competitive today, what we're targeting here. So how does it work? Basically, you have an online platform. People post their projects. We determine what a forecasted return would be. We then approve it and sell it to the public. And then we sell these digital bonds, which then is effectively an accounting system. And because these digital bonds are peer-to-peer trading, it adds this liquidity to the market that didn't exist before. Okay, so what are the benefits? Basically, what happens is for energy developers, they don't need to finance with debt, although of course they could. It would be useful. But they don't have to. And then it's, again, a central location for them to post their projects. And potentially, instead of 6 months financing, they can do it in 2 months. And it could build brand, because people can invest in individual projects locally and see the returns that come from tangible assets in their local economy. So for the investors, it's kind of along the same lines for benefits. They get a really good, return that's not, let's say 6 or 5%. It's pretty good. And then again, they get to participate in the clean energy economy. If they don't have a rooftop solar, they can now. And again, they don't have to hold this digital asset for 20 years as long as the asset is. They can trade it because it's liquid on a peer-to-peer market. So our revenue model would be that we assess basically the project, so there's a diligence fee. And then if we like it, we'll put it on the platform and we'll raise the capital by the sale of these digital assets. And then there will be an annual platform fee for this type of distributed ledger system. Anyways, so here's a snapshot of what we think could be possible for revenue. We are talking to project developers both in Ontario and in Alberta, and we're building our pipeline of sales. First NDA, then LOI, then signed term sheet to a sales contract. And every megawatt is basically $1 million to $1.5 million. So it's actually a substantial amount. And 10 megawatts is not very much in the energy industry. So obviously the market in clean energy is growing. It's a global market, and if you look at any kind of trends, it's going up pretty quick. And I think people, there's a lot of capital investment that needs to be made. So basically what happens is if you crowdfund this type of platform, you kind of get to a market-based, risk-based return. And that's different than what happens today. Again, if you use this peer-to-peer network, it's secure, it lowers transaction costs. You now can include thousands of investors in an individual asset, whereas previous it was not possible due to the costs. And then also, if you're investing in a local asset, you mitigate the systemic risk of being in a stock market. So it doesn't matter what's happening in the global world, this asset's still generating return for you. So we do have competitors. WePower is effectively very close to what we're doing. They came out in 2016. They've raised $40 million. I don't think they have many projects or any. CoPower, they are effectively the same business model as us, but they use debt. They have no technology layer. And Solar and Clean Capital, effectively, they're the same thing as us, but on a regulatory side. So basically, we have a pretty good team here. I'm an engineer background, finance CFA. I've worked in the energy space. I know a lot of people in the Ontario energy space. I'm getting to know a lot of the Albertans. And we also have Duncan Brown. He's a software architecture. He's already built a blockchain company and sold it. And then Jonathan over there is general counsel. He's very knowledgeable in securities law and understands like the exempt market. And then we have a suite of advisors that deal with energy, project finance, and a VC. So what's our progress to date? Well, we established ourselves Feb 28, 2018, built the beta product. We graduated from founders. We started getting developers interested. We're now building our pipeline of projects to sign for that sales cycle, which is fairly long in the energy industry, like maybe 3 to 9 months. And now we've been part of this application Powering Forward. It's a UK-Canadian partnership. We have 4 other energy companies with us, and we pitch on May 7th, and if we get it, we'll have a paid pilot. We also know that there's OC grants available to us, about 100,000, 2 of them. And then we've just been we won a spot to pitch in Dubai, so they're going to fly us there, and we'll see. It's part of their Blockchain Energy Smart City Summit. So what we're looking for is about $200,000, and this would be to do most of the grant matching that I mentioned about the pilots, and then also to start the regulatory process. So we have retained the lawyer that understands that, it's from a top law firm, especially in blockchain securities, and this process is probably going to take 9 to 12 months, maybe longer, so it's good to start it as soon as possible. So thank you very much for your time, and also what I'd like to open up to anyone in the room is if they know of a rooftop solar that they'd like to have, or a commercial solar that they know of someone who want to put on their facility, you can get into contact with me on my website. We will do a free assessment, and we will try to crowdfund it for you. So if you know, go on to Grey Block Power, put your information. If you're interested, we'll follow up. I'm being dead serious. So this could be our first project because it's small scale. So thank you very much. Cheers.
Perfect. Good job. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. All right, who's in with 3? All right, you get to go first.
Actually, I'm still trying to figure out whether there's anything proprietary in the things that you are doing. You mentioned a tech layer, and just basically what would prevent somebody else from doing exactly the same thing that you guys are doing if it proves to be successful. Regarding the pitch specifically, I think you were mentioning the product before you were talking about the problem, or the problem itself, the problem statement didn't come out as clear as it could have. So those would be my feedback.
Yeah, I did have a little bit of difficulty understanding at the beginning what we are trying to solve until I see the word financing. I thought you were just doing like solar panel, but I didn't realize you're trying to solve the financing problem of the solar panel. Another thing that I didn't understand was who posts the project in the, is it the developer post it, or is it my retailer post it? Is it like me doing it my own, or is it like the people doing it for everyone else, the manufacturer or the installation people, are they the one being financed? So I wasn't clear on that point, but maybe in your case you don't care, whoever posts it, you will take it. And another thing is I'll probably talk to you offline, so I thought of your platform could be used in another scenario, which I'm not going to publicly say now. It's going to be a good scenario, but I'll talk to you offline on it.
I have some feedback, but it's all encrypted, and you'd have to log in.
You need a password.
Yes. I think you really picked up speed towards the latter part of your presentation in terms of really honing in on exactly what you're focusing on. And I think showing comparables that exist out there in the marketplace, I liked your slide on it. And you did concentrate on at least one, or at least that's what I captured, of what they were able to raise. What wasn't clear to me is at what stage they are in the commercialization and how big they are. I think that's important to project to us, which could help on the value proposition as, yeah, I see the potential for this, and that's where the funding would go beyond meeting the requirements of the matching funds for the government funding. So I think you need to concentrate on that, and tied into it is on the sales side, what is your growth potential? You talked about a huge opportunity there. I'd like to see more clarity on how you would scale up to those projections. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. You have a question? Okay.
Hi, I'm just a bit curious on how you deal with liquidity risk within the organization. Say if one of the developers, the company fails or those kinds of things, is like what would happen to the person that invested in something that doesn't happen? Is there any settlement or any protection for the people?
Do you mean if, say, someone backs a project before it's constructed? It depends. What do you mean by that? Like you're saying it's a not constructed project?
Say the developer commits fraud, and so he says, I'm going to do all this stuff, he gets the money and disappears to Brazil or something.
Yep. So that's totally fair question. So that's kind of why we have a project finance lawyer, which basically ensures the investor trust. So I don't want to tell you how you do it, but basically there's milestones that are met. I don't own the money, someone else does. And when those milestones are met through a diligence process, then the funds are delivered. So that is mitigated to, the most risk. Also, in a sense, like we're kind of acting like the diligence system, effectively. So we are saying we are experts in energy, we understand how to diligence these types of projects, and so when you come onto our platform, that's why you're paying that fee. Yeah.
So in essence, you're becoming the deal flow, and then you are the escrow for the project being paid through.
Yeah.
Which is, you take your cut. If you escrow it for a year, you work off interest, so it's not a bad business model. Questions?
Well, I think the idea is great and is very trendy right now, no? But is there any study on probably if you are able at some point to crowdfund, particularly a person, and start like just expanding these panels everywhere? Is there a forecast of how other economies in terms of energy could be affected and the repercussions of it? I don't know. See if it makes sense.
Sorry, I didn't really follow.
Is there?
I apologize.
Well, business-wise, you can able to actually crowdfund the thing, right? And just grow the company so it gets grown. But as a business model, is there any attack by other energy industries?
So based on the way your company's structured and using crowdfunding and the way that you're generating dollars to build your projects, can one of the energy sector businesses actually generate their own platform and just get rid of you because you're kind of an in-between?
They could, but then that's, if you think about it, we're acting as an intermediary. And also, we're specifically targeting small assets. So that's our niche market. We're talking
what's classified as a
like
small
local
asset?
assets, and it depends. A small asset, like capex wise, like $5 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Sorry.
So, given that this is kind of a newer industry, and I guess it can be a bit difficult to explain, I'm wondering, how do you bridge the gap between getting someone to invest something that they inherently won't really understand?
Okay, so I mean, strategy-wise, you know, if there's a solar, like a 1 megawatt being developed in a community, we'd talk to the community. That's it. Like, we'd literally go to those people first. As I mentioned, like these assets, they can. It depends what stage they are. What do you mean return? Like the actual. Like right now, what would be, I guess, competitive is 6 to 7% for, but that depends. It depends what stage of risk it is and other things. It's kind of thrown out there as a general. It really should be a spread. Sorry, but anyways.
Okay, we got one question left.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of confused, to be honest with you, and I know a little bit about the subject matter because Ontario had the ability for individual homeowners and small businesses to apply and get rebates. We all remember that from a decade ago. And so that was a total flop. Some people gained from it and a lot of people didn't because there was huge problems with it. I see this process being duplicated once you get into it because it's not proprietary. I don't see where the proprietariness is. If you're successful, somebody will follow along and what have you. And if you're not successful, they just watch and wait. So I need to understand that.
Sure.
So
just to address that, so so I don't think anyone's kind of came out with something that's regulatory compliant. The digital, how to architect the digital asset is actually, you could, I mean, in general, I'm just telling you it's a bond, but you could make it not work 100 different ways. So it is very dependent on how you structure that. And yeah, so that's kind of think is a competitive model. It's basically the IP that's being developed as a technological layer. Like I guess people could own Windows and repeat it, but once Windows kind of, you know, connects to enough, people like it. That's true. But CoPower, you know, they're in the new space. They could do it today. They have millions of dollars.
It's almost like anything. You're always going to have a piece of a market that can start to generate dollars. And when this comes to basically a fintech-based product, there's huge opportunity because not everybody has the understanding of it. So once you're going in there, you're balancing the workflow. So it's going to change the way that working industry is doing this and how they see it as a way to interact in the platform. And that just takes time, right? So, which is a good thing.
Trust me, we made a lot of mistakes.
You learn as you go, but that's awesome. Thank you very much. All right, Evie Chat, you're up.
Clicker. There's a timer. Ready to roll.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Puneet, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of EvaChat. And we help lawyers and organizations collect evidence from their clients' mobile devices and the cloud. Now, imagine you're getting a divorce, and it's a real nasty divorce. And you have 10 years of text message history with your former spouse, and you need to get that to your lawyer. What do? Do you take screenshots? That might take a really long time, and how does your lawyer search through those? What if you're an employer and your employee has been doing some insider trading with one of your financial clients? How do you get that information? That's the problem we're solving. Today, 90% of lawsuits require some kind of evidence from a mobile device. And this is a huge problem because there's no quick, affordable, and efficient way to not only get that to your lawyer, but also for your lawyer to review it in a quick and simple manner. You either have to hire a third-party forensic expert, which is gonna charge you thousands and thousands of dollars, or you have to do it the screenshot method. And you know, that has its own problems. So how do we solve this? We've actually built a tool where a lawyer can create an account for their client, simply send them an invite. They use our software directly on their mobile device to upload all of their text messages, or they can use our web app to collect those messages as well. And it's not just text. We work with WhatsApp, Gmail, and also any publicly available website. This actually saves each lawsuit 3 to 12 hours per suit. And lawyers can then use that time to work on another file. Now, this is actually a huge market. And the best part about it is that it's a hidden market. You would never think of this unless you have firsthand experience. You're in litigation, or you went through a divorce and you gave your lawyer all those text messages and got a huge bill. So just for family law alone, this is a $500 million yearly market that we can tackle. If you include employment law, so people getting fired, or small business, so contract disputes between two contractors or small companies, that's a $3 billion market in North America alone. And then for every lawsuit filed in the US or North America, it's about $9.5 billion. And that doesn't include enterprise data growth. Year over year, enterprise data growth collection, is growing by $7 billion a year. And I'm sure you can imagine there's more and more sources of data every month, every year that are coming out, and people are getting sued, and lawyers need to see it. So we launched our product September 1st. At first, we went after the biggest law firms we could find. And actually, we had a lot of success. But then we figured out that we were just at the right place at the right time. And the sales cycle was really, really long with them. So then we decided to go for smaller law firms. So lawyers, 10 or less. We sent out 950 direct emails at the end of August. And that has resulted in over 80 paid law firms on our on our platform who are using it month to month. At any given time, there's 40 or 50 active lawsuits on our platform, and this is just in the last 6 months. We're also working on an enterprise version of EvaChat, and we're currently being reviewed by the Alberta Securities Commission as well as the Toronto Police Department. Now, we're not the only geniuses who thought of this idea. There are a few other people in this space, but we're uniquely positioned. We're the only ones that allow cloud-based self-service. So a law firm can sign on to our platform and do the collections with their clients themselves. A lot of the other players are really expensive hardware solutions where you need a third-party expert group to do the collections for you, or they're legacy software solutions that are extremely expensive and out of reach for 85% of law firms, because 85% of law firms are 10 lawyers or less in North America. So this is the team. That's me. I'm a lawyer. I practiced for several years, and I was also formerly on Deloitte's e-discovery team, and that's where I have this background in e-discovery and litigation. My co-founder is Nilesh Pandey. He's a Waterloo graduated software engineer. He was employee number 12 at Vidyard, and he was there for a few years, and also an early employee at Extreme Labs. So he has a lot of early startup experience, and that's come in handy because this is our whole team, and all the traction we've had is through these guys. We've surrounded ourselves with some great advisors. The Legal Innovation Zone, downtown Toronto. It's like YSpace, but for legal startups. And they've guided us and helped us and introduced us to a lot of law firms in Toronto. Ryerson Futures, that's DMZ's investment wing. They're providing us strategic advice as well. And Raju Pandey, he's president of Texas Instruments Canada. He navigated the whole startup world in the late 90s, and he's one of our main advisors also. How do we price this thing? So we tried to make it as simple as possible. It's $50 per case per month that it's on our servers. That way, a law firm can actually bill it back directly to their client, and they don't have to pay anything. The client ends up paying. It's a disbursement. For larger law firms, we do have an enterprise solution, and that depends on the size of the law firm, the volume of their litigation files, or if it's a corporation, the amount of employees they have. So these are our financial projections, and our accounting firm actually made these for us last week. And so within the next few years, we want to get to about $2.5 million in revenue in the next 3 years. And these are based off our current growth projections. We are currently raising $500K. We have $200K soft circled already. We are looking for additional investors in that group. And the use is going to be hiring 2 full-time engineers plus 1 co-op, and the rest of it is going to marketing and sales initiatives. And that's it for the presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Who's up? Who wants in? You're out. P3.
Thanks very much for that. Clearly, very passionate presentation and nice presentation style. Very clear business as well. We understand what you're trying to do. It's interesting, for sure. For those of us that don't know the law world, we'd wonder why the heck we would ever give a lawyer access to our phone entirely. But exactly, yeah. I'm sure it's mandated for certain reasons. The one feedback I would give is a lot of times with entrepreneurs, they have some sort of personal attachment to the business, which is important, and passion for the business. You're obviously an older entrepreneur. You've been successful as a lawyer. And I think it might be good to talk about what really drove you to become an entrepreneur and get into this specifically. Was it, creating efficiencies within the law world, and you're so frustrated the way it worked right now? Obviously your personal story, and then also convince us that this is the kind of business that you're going to stick with and see through those 3, 4, 5 years versus just being a potential quick hit that you might have discovered. So you see that a lot by nature with the younger people because they're just coming out of school and they have an attachment to something. But if you could share your story there, I think that would help a lot for the investors as well.
Hey, good seeing you again. So I like it. I like your colors too. So and you match. So good job. Very stylish. Thank you. I think that actually one thing that could really emphasize the real value in this. I really love the fact that you've already got 80 firms cases per month already. So you're not just an idea. You've gone beyond. What would be great is to have quotes, feedbacks from the lawyer or your clients or customers that have really gained from this, and how wonderful it would have been to have this a long time ago, right? And I think focusing also, I always feel that doing a B2C as opposed to a B2B model also always takes a fair bit of work, but concentrating on the B2B to that enterprise version, how are you, what's required to securing that? What stage are you at? And how are you going to capture more of those? Right.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Actually, I know you passed, but now we're putting you on the spot.
I think this is a very interesting problem that you're solving. I have no clue. And one thing that I actually would like to understand is how does it actually work, right? You didn't quite explain, or maybe I dozed out, okay? Maybe I didn't hear it. Another questions that I would have is you did not mention about like the security portion. I'm sure these stuff will need to be quite secure, considered it's a court cases and stuff, and you are the only one on the cloud compared to all the other people, so there might be a reason why the other people are not on the cloud, and somehow you have a way of solving the security problem. So those will be my feedback that you didn't address, and I was just wondering in my head.
No, that's a good point. I actually think that he's probably already copied your phone, Jane, so you might want to sign that document, but all right. Oh, wait, you need this, so.
Yeah.
All right. What questions do we have? All right.
Yeah, just quickly, there is another cloud-based one, and we took a lot of time for our security, and we are compliant with legal rules in North America.
I did see that you had quickly just said corporate version. One of the things I had to go through litigation, I would be willing to preemptively sign up my own employees to this so that I could collect data with their approval such that when I needed the evidence, it would already be ready.
That's exactly why we're building it. And to be honest, I didn't even think of that problem because I don't have that corporate experience, right? They were inbounding us on our website, and including one of Canada's national banks and some other household name corporations, because their employees are now using Slack. They're now using WhatsApp to talk to their clients, to each other. No one just keeps it on email anymore. And so, the light bulb went off, and that's exactly the use case.
Perfect.
One of the concerns that would be there if you're collecting data, of people's data and it's going up to the cloud. Have you been able to address the concerns both from the lawyer as well as from the client about privacy issues as to how that can be kind of addressed?
Right, good question. So it's actually not an issue. This is all data that's either court mandated to give to your lawyer, or it's data that the client really wants to give to their lawyer. So we're not taking anything like sneakily or anything like that.
Yet. Sorry.
I have a quick question in regards to partially security. It's like, how do you separate private information, say like your banking on your phone, and then collecting information about your spouse, I don't know, talking to somebody else? Like,
Right. So I'm glad you brought that up, because the current forensic solutions that law firms use, you can't separate it. You have to give them everything. However, we've built a proprietary system which targets only the message threads you want to send to your lawyer. So we ignore all of your banking, your photos of your kids, or someone you're having an affair with. It's just like your spouse or just the message threads you want to send. So that's a problem we understood from the beginning and addressed.
I owe you a question.
Yeah, a two-part question. So first of all, just to make sure I understand, like, who's benefiting from this? It's $50 a month, and you're saying the lawyer just passes that on to the client, but you save the lawyer 12 hours per case. Isn't that a bad thing for the lawyer? Couldn't they have made a lot more money spending 12 hours at $200 an hour or something?
Well, let me ask you something. Did Excel make life better or worse for accountants?
Better.
Right. So the same way, lawyers are going to save time and do more high-level work where they can charge $800 an hour instead of the low-level cost to review the text messages.
Okay, so what would they charge? Because it's part of my second question.
Right. So again, it depends on the firm, but it's usually in the range of $100 to $200 an hour for a clerk or a paralegal to review evidence for the file.
Okay.
And prepare that evidence. And
I wanted to ask, versus all the competition you had up there, is there anything innovative about your pricing with them?
So we copied one of the other cloud-based e-discovery providers. We copied their business model specifically so that you can bill back to the client. They've taken off, and they do email only, and they don't even collect it. They just allow the lawyer to review it. We like their pricing model because of the bill back and the simplicity. And I think that's what sets us apart from all the forensic providers and all these people in the space who are trying to gather data. They charge thousands of dollars. Yeah, exactly.
It's also, I think we were chatting about this before too, is it's a affordable rate and whatnot, but
Yeah.
you're also attacking the whole billing system for them, because now what you're saying to them is you might have billed 12 hours for this that's going to take us an hour. You can still bill 12 hours because that you can't control. You're basically just finding more efficient ways for them to save and make more money. It's just how you spin that back to the legal firm.
Yeah.
This is an excellent idea.
Thanks.
I'm not a lawyer, but I've had to learn the law. I've gone through 5 legal cases, and I tried them all myself, and I won all of them. But the
Congrats.
most important thing that I found was the ability to be able to go into my phone, other people's phone, to extract that specific information. So this is definitely a winner concept. The positive thing I love about it is the fact that lawyers can't say it's really 10 hours of work, but you're saving me this much, and so I'm going to bill 10 hours. It doesn't work that way. And frankly, the market will adjust quickly towards that. My question for you is, where's your proprietary towards this? Because it's such a great idea. Its software, in my mind, is not that complicated because it's just simply a search engine. Effectively, that's what it is. And they're giving you the thread for the data. So literally, where's the complexity?
So a couple things. One, we've actually built an AI search that it's a relational meaning search for all the threads. And so I didn't really talk about that because AI is a huge buzzword and kind of leads the conversation the wrong way. So that's just an added feature that we have. We think it's very, very powerful and sets us apart. The other thing, it actually wasn't an easy problem to solve. This is all unstructured data, and we're structuring it and providing it. And we thought it was going to be really easy. It was much more difficult. And also, it's a fairly new problem. It didn't really exist 5 years ago. No one important was using Instagram back then. Now, everyone's on Instagram doing all sorts of bad stuff. So it's a fairly new problem as well, and we have the first mover advantage also.
Perfect. That was great. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, right after. You got all the time in the world. You guys can network. I don't want to steal all the thunder. You got to have something to talk about. No worries, man. No worries. All right. So one thing we do, and I think we should probably see if anybody has an interest. How many of you guys are startups, your own startup? Got a couple? Well, we can do get a couple of you guys up here. Their 30-second pitch. Yeah, come on up. Yeah, come on up. Wait, what's that? Whoa, so you're eager, holy, jumping, holy. Anybody else want to come up? Yeah, two guys, you guys come on up. You can do it again, we're all right with that. You're going to get better at it.
Is it going to be different than the last?
All right, you got 30 seconds. Ready?
All right, my name's Chris Whittington, CEO of Crossport Networks. We've created the first way to move data without internet or any structured direction between source and target. It is intrinsically secure. It moves data extremely fast. You can control your PC with your cell phone against USB rules because we go around those rules. So now you can reconnect everything in your world, transferring the 5 terabytes of data in your house. You could do that in about an hour and a half. Chris Whittington from Crossport AI.
Cool. Like it. Thank you. All right, you guys know how it works.
Hello, everyone. My name is Philip. I'm a film director and producer, and I'm working on Severance Day, a heist thriller. I lost my train of thought. So anyway, so we're past development. We're in pre-production right now, and Toronto is becoming a big boom for the movie industry. And with the streaming war upcoming, it's a great time to be in that space. So if you want to know more, come and talk to me. SeveranceDay.com. My name is Philip. Thank you.
And I'm reading the script, and it's actually a really good script.
Hi, my name is Kumar Churla, and I'm the president and CEO of Churlasoft. We develop medical devices for the cancer industry. Essentially, what happens when you do develop cancer, and 1.8 million people in the United States find out they have cancer, of that, about a third have to go through chemotherapy. And what happens during chemotherapy is usually recover. But unfortunately, during the process of chemotherapy, you develop another disease.
And your name is?
Kumar Churla.
All right, perfect. That's you get 30 seconds.
Oh, that's it? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's it, buddy. You got to do a full pitch if you want, but we got to work on that one. All right, you're up.
Hi, my name is Brian Epstein, and I'm a coach, a business coach. I work with entrepreneurs and other small business persons and persons in large organizations, helping them grow their business. So I'd be happy to have a complimentary meeting with any of you to talk to you a little bit about my services and how I can help any of you grow your own businesses. Thank you. I'm Brian Epstein of Epstein Success Coach. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Perfect. All right, well, thank you very much, guys, for coming out. Thank our sponsors. Thank the Angels for being rock stars and helping out tonight. Thank you very much for all of you. And if you guys are around next week, it will be in Durham at their new innovation hub. We'll have, I think it's going to be 7 pitches. There'll be 9 showcases and a keynote. And you guys will love the keynote because he's actually an Oshawa guy that runs a beer company. So it's pretty cool. So you guys will have some fun there too as well. So we'll come out and see us. And thank you very much, guys. Have a great night.